It all started on what seemed like a normal day in a small-town courthouse. The air was tense, typical for a courtroom, but no one expected what would happen next. A routine hearing was underway when a white police officer, clearly frustrated and on edge, lashed out at a black woman who had simply spoken up for herself. In a shocking moment, he kicked her out, literally. People gasped, phones came out, and the room froze. The woman stood tall, calm, and composed, while the officer stormed out, unaware that his life was about to be turned upside down. What he didn't know was that the woman he'd just disrespected wasn't just another citizen. She wasn't there for a case. She wasn't in trouble. In fact, she was about to become his boss. This story takes a sharp turn that no one saw coming. Behind the badge and the uniform, there are power dynamics, assumptions, and painful truths that often go unchecked. But this time, the truth wasn't just going to be seen, it was about to be felt. The woman, strong, professional, and full of quiet authority, wasn't there to argue. She had a job to do. And that job, taking over as the new police chief, of the very department this officer worked for. Now imagine being that officer. One moment you're abusing your power, the next you're standing face to face with the person who now holds power over you. The look on his face when he found out? Priceless. But the moment wasn't about revenge. It was about reckoning. And it was only the beginning. What happens next in this story challenges everything we think we know about justice, respect, and redemption. Will the officer face consequences? Will the new chief take a stand or take the high road? Keep watching, because this story is just getting started. The courtroom slowly emptied, but the buzz didn't die down. People were whispering, texting, and rewatching the clip that had already made it to social media. Some still couldn't believe what they had seen. Others were angry, not just because of what happened, but because it felt like just another example of a deeper problem: racial bias, misuse of authority, and how Black women are so often disrespected even when they carry power. But let's rewind for a moment. Who was this woman, really? Her name is Angela Carter. She's not just any officer. She's a highly decorated law enforcement professional with over 15 years of experience. Known for her calm presence and sharp instincts, Angela had recently been selected as the new chief of police in this very city. What nobody realized was that she decided to quietly observe the court system before her first official day. No press, no announcement, just a woman watching how the system works from the inside. And what she saw? It shook her. Officer Daniels, the man who kicked her out, had a reputation. Not official complaints, but whispers. Stories from people who didn't want trouble. A cop quick to anger, quick to judge. Angela saw it all unfold right in front of her. No badge, no rank, just her word against his. And he didn't even pause to ask who she was. He didn't care. Angela didn't tell anyone who she was after the incident. Not the judge, not the clerk. She walked out quietly, head high, but something in her eyes said she had made a decision. Now the whole department was waiting. No one knew she had been in court that day. No one knew the viral video was about to land on her desk. And Officer Daniels? He was about to walk into a department meeting that would change everything. The next morning, the station was buzzing. No one knew exactly what was going on, but there were rumors. A meeting had been called, mandatory. That alone was unusual. Officers shuffled in, sipping coffee, making guesses. Some said a new policy rollout. Others whispered about the viral video that had been circulating all night. But no one had any idea that the woman in that clip was about to walk through the door and change everything. Officer Daniels sat in the back, arms crossed. He hadn't seen the video yet. He hadn't connected the dots. To him, it was just another day. He didn't even remember the woman's face clearly, just that she had annoyed him and he reacted. No big deal in his mind. But a few of the other officers had watched the clip more than once. Some recognized her. A couple of them stared at each other in disbelief, slowly putting it all together. They didn't dare say it out loud, but their expressions said it all. "That's her." Then the door opened. Angela Carter walked in. Confident, calm, dressed in full uniform now, badge shining. The room went silent. Daniels sat up straighter, suddenly, alert. He looked around, confused. Then their eyes met. It hit him. The color drained from his face. But Angela didn't flinch. She walked to the front, nodded at the deputy chief, and turned to face the room. What followed wasn't a dramatic speech. Not yet. It was introductions, standard protocol. But underneath her composed tone, there was tension. Everyone felt it. Some officers were curious. Others were nervous. A few were clearly uncomfortable. Angela was here not just to lead, but to clean house, and they all knew it. Meanwhile, in the background, pressure was building. Community leaders had caught wind of the video. News outlets were reaching out. The mayor's office wanted answers. And still, no one outside that room knew the full story. Not yet. Daniels wasn't the only one sweating. Because Angela's presence meant change was coming, and no one knew how deep it would go, or who else would be exposed along the way. Over the next few days, the station felt different, quieter, uneasy. Angela wasn't loud or confrontational. She didn't need to be. Her presence alone shifted the energy in every room she entered. She walked the halls, checked case files, spoke with officers one-on-one. Some welcomed her, others avoided her completely. But no one could ignore her. Officer Daniels tried to keep his head down. He started arriving early, leaving late, pretending everything was fine. But people were watching him. Whispers followed him wherever he went. The video hadn't just gone viral, it had sparked conversation across the city. Civil rights groups were calling for an internal review. Residents were showing up at City Hall, demanding transparency. And in the middle of it all was Angela Carter, now the face of both justice and controversy. Behind closed doors, Angela was gathering information. Daniel's personnel file, past body cam footage, statements from officers who had stories but never felt safe enough to speak. It wasn't just about the courthouse moment anymore. That had opened the door. But what lay behind it was bigger. An entire pattern of behavior, not just from one officer, but from a system that protected him. At the same time, Angela was facing pressure from the top. The mayor wanted this to go away quietly. A few city officials hinted that a public confrontation would make the department look bad. They wanted a clean image, not accountability. But Angela hadn't come for comfort. She came for change. Then came the turning point. A mandatory department review board meeting was scheduled. Daniels was ordered to appear. Angela would be there too, not just as the chief, but as the witness. The atmosphere in the department shifted from whispers to full-blown tension. Officers picked sides. Loyalties were tested, and Daniels, once arrogant, was now a man unraveling. As the boardroom doors closed behind them, no cameras, no crowd, just truth on the line, everyone was asking the same thing. What's going to happen now? The boardroom was heavy with silence. Angela sat at the head of the table, steady and focused. Officer Daniels avoided her gaze, fidgeting slightly, his usual confidence cracked. A few senior officials, some skeptical, others curious, looked on as the session began. This was supposed to be about one incident, the courtroom, but Angela had come prepared with more than anyone expected. She began calmly, detailing what happened that day in court. Her words were clear, measured. No drama, just facts. Then she paused, looked around the room, and dropped the first surprise. This wasn't the first time Daniels had acted out. She pulled out reports, real ones. internal complaints that had been quietly closed, testimonies from former trainees, officers who had been transferred after pushing back. Suddenly, the room shifted. This was no longer about one officer losing his temper. This was about a pattern of behavior and the people who had let it slide. Daniels's face turned red. He leaned forward, trying to defend himself, but the room wasn't buying it. Before he could even finish, Angela slid another folder across the table. That's when the second twist hit. Inside were transcripts and flagged emails, not from Daniels, but from a higher-up in the department. A supervisor who had shielded him, suppressed complaints, and helped cover his tracks. The same supervisor who had pushed back hardest against Angela's hiring. The real power behind the silence wasn't Daniels. It was someone above him. The room exploded in tension. Eyes shifted. The story had just gotten bigger. Now it wasn't just about one bad cop. It was about corruption, favoritism, and a chain of silence that stretched far deeper than anyone realized. Angela didn't flinch. She simply said, "If we want real change, it starts here." And just like that, what started as one shocking moment in a courtroom had become a battle for the future of the entire department. But the most intense moment was still to come, and no one, not even Angela, knew how it would end. The room sat in stunned silence as Angela's final file hit the table. It was no longer just about Officer Daniels or even the corrupt supervisor. It was about a culture that had been allowed to thrive unchecked. People shifted in their seats, eyes locked on her, some shocked, some quietly relieved. She had brought the receipts, and now there was no looking away. Daniels finally broke. Voice raised, hands shaking, he accused,